Hey, how's it going? And I'm excited as always to bring you another tutorial in LightWave, trying to do something fun. I thought I would play around with lens flare, and it's one of those things in LightWave that you don't really think about that much. And then I was looking at it and someone was saying you can make a shockwave, and I was like, really? Is that really going to be a shockwave? Well, maybe you could call it a baby shockwave. So you'll see what I mean. So what we're gonna do, I'm just gonna clear the scene here. I didn't take any notes on my settings. Interestingly, on the lens flare, it is a property of your light. I would have thought it would have been a property of the camera, but it is a property of your light. One thing you want to do before you get started is you want to hit D on the keyboard and make sure this little obscure box down here is checked OpenGL lens flare, so you can actually see it in OpenGL, which this is OpenGL. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go into lights, properties, and if you'll notice, I've seen this a million times, but I never really checked it. I said, because I don't usually like lens flare, but if I could use it for something other than a lens flare, then I think it would be great. So that's what started this whole thing. And you click here, lens flare options, and there you go, right there. You've got your lens flare. So let's start looking at some of this, like this color, don't say anything. And that's because we do have to be in the camera view to see it. But now we can't see our light, right? So we're gonna have to position our camera so that we can see our light. So if I come up here on the Y and then I change to my rotation a little bit, there's that light and there's that lens flare everybody talks about. Now, I saw in LightWave documentation that it said that lens flare is usually something to be avoided, but there is a filmmaker that I know that likes his lens flare, and I do see lens flare, and half the time I don't like it because it does look fake to me, and so I do actually try to avoid lens flare when shooting, unless you're doing it strictly for an artistic reason. Let's just kind of walk through these settings, and you'll see this, I believe, is the circle that you can use to create the so-called shockwave effect. So let me let's go to VPR and let me go kill the backdrop here of the gradient. Actually, it looks kind of cool, but what I would encourage you to do is just come around here and play around with all this stuff and just see what you can do. I think what you could create more realistically probably is what I would call a starburst, so I'll touch on that as well. But for the ring color, I don't know if I like that, so maybe I'll change that to blue. And if you drop off red glow, you can see the, I think that's the ring, right? Okay, so let me show you. If you go into here, into ring size, and you click E, that'll take you into the graph editor. And then all you got to do on the graph editor is change this. This shouldn't be, that is the ring size, right? So make sure you're clicked on this and then click on your thing there. And this is the value you want there is 0. That is the ring. Yeah, that is the ring. Okay, and then what you do is you come here and you click on this to create a keyframe, the little thing, the icon that looks like a key, and click down here on the end, and that puts you at 120. And then you want to put the value here at, oops, before I do that, I need to select that. So let me select that as well. There we go. And let's put that at 200, or let's put 200, yeah. Go enter. And if we close and we hit play, you'll see, I don't know, you want to call that a shockwave? I guess it could be a shockwave. It kind of is a shockwave. It looks more to me like a, like a radio signal, like an animation of a radio signal or something. But, it could be a shockwave. But it doesn't look like you can do much more to it than change its color. So I don't know what you want to call it. Now, I'll show you where things start getting really cool here. So the exercise for today, the fun thing for today, is basically anything that you can animate it. So you've got these 4. Is it 4? I thought that maybe is it only 3. 1, 2, 3. I thought there was one more. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. So all of these things you can animate. So where it really starts getting crazy is if you go to the one here where it shows Anamorphic Distortion. And now this, really what it does is it flattens the whole thing out and makes it look more like a starburst, which now I think this looks pretty cool. So let's see what that looks like if we hit play. It's not really doing very much, right? So let's go ahead and spice this whole thing up. Now see how the lines are going vertically, which is interesting, which could be some kind of interesting effect you might want. Let's go crazy and just put a 10-point star there in the middle, and we'll animate the rotation angle. So let's do that. So we'll come over here and click on the keyframe there, and that's fine. And so we're going to click here to get a keyframe, and we'll set a keyframe right there. Let's put this at, let's just go 360 on that, okay? And let's see what that does to our little starbursty thing. So now you got some kind of really trippy kind of effect going on there, right, with the rotation. It gets better. You can go into the flare intensity too. And let's go ahead and add a keyframe here. Let's see. Let's click here and see where we're at on our first value. We're at 50%. Let's just drop that down to 25. And then let's click here to get a keyframe, and we'll add a keyframe right here. And then let's go 125. Make it really brighter. So this is really going to intensify the whole thing. Let's just go all the way, like supernova kind. There we go. So hit play now. So here we go. Boom. So now you're getting more of a supernova-ish kind of effect, right? From the light. And now if you don't like the ring color, I guess you could swap it out for something else. Let's try red. See how that looks. Let's see what that does for us. It's just, and if you back off, of course, this, where were we? On the anamorphic distortion, it starts changing the direction of everything. So let me hit stop play here. It's still going vertical at, oh, it's a little more circular there. Yeah, is there anything else to, I guess this will dissolve the whole effect out if you wanted to do that. I don't know if I want to, I don't know, let's go ahead. We're animating everything, so let's make a keyframe there. Let's see. That's, I guess we'll put it at 100%. We'll dissolve it, right? So it's going to be getting brighter and dissolving at the same time. So that's an interesting contradiction. So let's see what that looks like. It's getting brighter and it's dissolving at the same time. Yeah. So you may not even like that ring, so you could just get rid of it if you don't like it. Here's another effect. If you do the distance, then you can actually change the distance of this. And that's kind of cool too. So I would just play around with this. You might be able to come up with some really kind of psychedelic star bursting kind of effect with just using lens flare, which you know, I've played around with other programs, and actually this is a decent looking kind of artificial effect. But I think if you play around with it, you could actually get it to the photorealistic level, especially if you pop it back in the background somewhere and then you add some fog and things like that. I don't know, just play around with it. If you come up with something that's really cool, please post it here. I'd love to see it. You can actually add streaks too. I was just noticing that. You can add that anamorphic streak in there. Yeah, just play around with it and have a good time. I'm wondering if you change the color of the light itself. That was the only other thing I was wondering. If I go on lights here and I go back to properties, let me just change. Can I change the whole light, or does that not affect? Oh, it does. Yeah. So then that's another thing you can do, is play around with your light color and see where that gets you. And I notice it doesn't matter what kind of light you use. The lens flare, it doesn't seem to be too much affected by that. Let me see. Yeah, it doesn't really affect what type of light you're using. You're still getting the same kind of effect. So anyway, this was just a quick tutorial just to kind of show you this lens flare, that you can actually use it for something other than actual lens flare. And if I used it for anything, this is what I would use it for. Another kind of starburst effect, maybe some simulating kind of an expanding circle, or a baby shockwave, whatever you want to call it. So that's all I had for today. Take care and have a great day.